Welcome back, YouTube. J-Bob, the video game slob, coming back at you. You may have just seen a video where I said May is the most terrible month and I'm doing miserably. And all that was true. And I felt that in the moment. But, well, let's take a look. Let's go through the state of the hobby here. Show you what I'm showing you. These are real numbers. You can tell they're real because they're on a piece of paper. And that means they're real. But yeah, what we've been selling through the month of April. We'll go through what's changed in May, and just kind of, walk you through what we're seeing. What you see here, the Heritage video games catalog. Always suggest you get on Heritage, not a sponsor. Check out their stuff. I've sniped some cool things over my time on their app, and it seems like if you just bid and win a few things now and then, they'll send you the catalog every time it comes. But I think that's going to help us out today by just kind of going line by line on what's selling and what I get out of stuff. And hopefully this helps other people who are resellers. Hopefully this helps other people who are collectors. Let you know what somebody who's really in the hobby making. Again, this is the lens of somebody who puts all this stuff into an antique mall. You'll see at the end, I pay rent there. I pay, as you can see here, it's not going to like that, a commission on each sale. And if people use a credit card, I pay a credit card fee. So what's selling for me? A Nintendo 64, with the cords and controllers, the expansion pack. I'm making $135 off of that. Of course, the customer's paying $162, basically. But I think that's a fairly good deal. Around here, and I just saw the Pink Gorilla moving into Las Vegas thing, and I think she was selling GameCubes for like $100, something like that. But I priced my Nintendo 64 consoles at $115, and I put them at $150 if they have the expansion packs. If I sell the expansion packs alone, I price them at $50. I still have something like 10 in backstock, so I got plenty of those, both consoles and the expansion packs. There was a video not too long ago where I bought this 2DS. 2DS's, again, anything Nintendo, as you're seeing here, first of all, is selling fairly well. But 2DS's seem to be selling quicker. They're slightly less expensive, as you can see. But people seem to be liking them. That seems to be the state of the hobby for me. For whatever reason, I've been lucky enough to sell NES games. I've heard a lot of people say NES stuff is sort of stale, but you're going to see a nice long track record of NES games to start things off. I also do enjoy that the people who ring things out here always type numbers in crazy ways. But this is what also sort of allows me to pay higher when I'm at garage sales, when I'm at flea markets, when I'm with people selling me games, is, the classic games like God of War, I can charge up a little. I don't think 15 is necessarily what you'd see on price charting, but it's what I can get. On the other hand, I'm more realistic about super common games like Gran Turismo that I just have dozens of in backstock. Same with like Cabela's games. I can put $5 on those and not really worry too much about it. I've talked many times in this channel about the giant collection of Ray Dunn I purchased and trying to get rid of that. I think this is the second or third Sonic Battle 2 I've had on the GameCube. That game had a meteoric rise. I feel like I've been able to take care of that pretty quickly. The Wii games there, they just put down generic numbers, which isn't super helpful. Same with like Killzone. I assuming that's like the trilogy, something like that. But yeah, you're seeing a lot of like PS2 stuff there. A Chewbacca plush. Anytime I'm at a garage sale, I see really cheap plushes or stuffed animals. And they're of like major IPs, things like that. I try to pick those up. Just because, hey, if it's quarter, 50 cents, $1, you can make $3 on that. That's, if you do the profit margin on that, it's much better than the things that I'm, selling naturally. I did find a collection of Pokemon cards I had bought a while back, a year, 2 years ago. I've just been putting them out because, the Pokemon craze is like super hot, and I figured why not take advantage of that. I don't love Pokemon cards. I don't collect them. I'm just trying to get rid of them. So there you go. Nintendo Wii console sold there for $70. Again, a squirrel, just sort of a cheap thing. Maybe I got it even out of a free bin at a garage sale. Try to do that. More of the Pokemon cards. The SNES Classic out of the GOAT Estate Sale. We'll be doing a GOAT Estate Sale update here at the end. Not in terms of exact dollars, but I'll at least let you know what's going on with that. I very rarely sell Sega Genesises. I have a bunch that I keep, but every now and then I set them out, and it's nice that somebody bought one and grabbed like an NHL 94, because of course if you're going to buy a Genesis, you're buying a 60 or the NHL 94. It's like the most common game for it, that kind of a thing. Again, a giant collection of N64 stuff, that kind of a thing there. I have no idea. WFS Carbob. No idea what the heck that means. Even the Halloween Pokemon cards are selling for me. I need to get more of those out. I still have not done that. Some people came in and were asking for more Wii remotes, so I went ahead and threw that on there. And so a lot of times it is. I mean, it sounds cliche, but just listening to your customers and what they're asking you for when I'm restocking, go ahead and put in what they ask me for. Tommy Hilfiger bag I bought years ago for $1, finally sold for 10. But even if it took 2 years to sell, turning $1 into 10 is still much better than the stock market. You always got to think that way. And a lot of times it's just getting the stuff onto the shelf, having room to finally merchandise it. Helmets, baseball helmets always sell for me. Just making sure that I get them out again. They sell very quickly. Anything with the baseball teams that are here local to us, Indians, Tigers, move fairly quickly and have better margins than what I'm making on video games. So again, I've said this time and time and time again, if you want to become a video game reseller or collector, I guess you would say, the best thing to do, don't buy video games. Go out and buy the other stuff, especially the stuff that you're dispassionate about. You'll find it easier to let go of that stuff. You'll find it easier to price them accurately. And, it'll leave. You'll make that money, and you can collect the video games that you want, the stuff that you care about. And that helps even more. I'm just to a point where I have a lot of these video games, and so I don't need duplicates and triplicates of everything. And so it's time to let it go. But you're seeing there, even like Pokemon Sun, this stuff is, getting popular. And so, yeah, now's the time to sell when the market's hot. I don't mind. I said that before in a lot of these videos. I buy the Pokemon stuff all the time. And, then when it's time to let it go, we let it go. I mean, there's nothing more complicated to it than that. I feel like I got 2 pages here. I guess I don't. Oh, no, I do. This is very boring for you all. Sorry about that. Here we go. There you go. Deduct May rent. So I pay $125 a month for the rent there. So you prepay for the month in advance, which is also sort of a deterrent for a lot of people, but it takes money to make money. So you got to pay the month ahead. But when you're done, you'd always get that back as a deposit. GameCube for $115. We got rid of another one of those. And again, this is like a retail lesson. People took the wrong colored controllers. I had everything color matched. So I had a black console with a indigo controller left. Who knows why people color swap the controllers. But we went ahead and swapped those. There you go. Griffey with the right amounts of Fs in there. All sorts of stuff. Obviously Wii Sports Resorts, still very popular. I've sold out of all those. I had, 10, 15 in back stock. I think it, was on this channel that I mentioned that. Again, if it has the first party controller, first party cords, it costs a little more, color matched at $125. A Mario Sunshine, I think at $55 is probably a little higher than market price. But again, you can ask that stuff in a retail location. because people are going to get it now as is, that kind of thing. Another 64 selling, and again, a lot of 64 games, which is, again, what you're going to see. A lot of Pokemon, a lot of Nintendo 64, a lot of Wii stuff. That's what's hot in the markets. So yeah, where did we end up at the end of the month here? Again, more than $100 a day in sales. It has been incredible. That did not used to be the goal. When this started out, it was $300-400 a month in sales. And so we're doing, very well, very happy with that. After all the fees all in, I make $2,600, and that's not full freight. I gotta, that doesn't take into account cost of goods sold, that kind of thing. So you got to do the math on that. But just being able to buy that much, turn that much over, it's going to help you. So the only metric you need to be worried about, I guess, is profit margin. But I don't care about profit margin as much as I care about, my ability to keep intaking collections, getting them out, doing that kind of thing. So, if you have stuff and it's piling up and your prices aren't good and your sales numbers aren't good, what's the point of buying it? You're, at that point, if you can't make it, you're overpaying. Don't push that stuff kind of down. I think we covered in another video up to Sally plush. So this kind of starts the new bit for May here. May exploded out of nowhere, as you'll start to see. Luigi's Mansion there, Double Dash. Somebody had really good taste. Again, another Wii selling. Again, selling about a Wii per month seems about right. I can't remember where we're at in terms of the pickup videos. Been picking up a lot of Nintendo Wiis again, so more are now entering back stock than going out. But 75, I still think, or 70 is still, I think, a good retail number. Sold another Wii U at 175. Again, selling maybe 5 a year. Those things are just very, very boring. Again, but a Coors hat, you paid probably $1 for, you're making $8 for. Trying to do a better job of getting things that aren't video games are out into the retail environment isn't always easy, because, when you're selling $100 a day, that's all I'm thinking of restocking is the video games. And so at the end, when I have those little bits of time, trying to go back and make sure I'm stocking the areas that aren't the video game cases. PS2 for $135. Again, that was like a platinum one, so it was really nice. The Double Dragon VHS from that pickup video sold. So that's really good. Again, Pokemon Omega Ruby, Battle Revolution. But this sort of stuff, this is why you do it. You could probably sell a lot of those consoles online, but things like I Spy, things like Disney Princess, things like NASCAR 99, very hard to move in an online environment and make any profit off of. But that sell well or, sell decently often. Virtual Pool, you're kind of seeing these things. That was the gold Ocarina of Time, the limited edition controller part. And that was that Offbeat 64 controller that I had there. So yeah, bag of Pokemon. That was just random Pokemon figures that I had. Nothing crazy there. That wasn't cards. That was just figures. A globe, again, bought for $1, $2, sold for 10. Really good profit margins on that. Very rarely are you buying a Luigi's Mansion for $1 or $2. You can't find it. But if I do, and it's somebody that I know that I have a relationship with, I'm not, I'm going to pay them a fair price. It'd have to be a very weird thing. Famicom, that was just an import purchase. Just to have one for the inventory, and it came with a Donkey Kong, so luckily they bought the Donkey Kong as well. Sometimes you just get vague feedback. The cashier just writes in games, and you have to, work your best at it to work back. Metroid Prime, really low right now on the GameCube, but I still believe in having it in stock. It's just something that's there. So you can see we're now 5 days later, 8 days into May, and we're at $1,600 for the month. So it's a heck of a difference 5 days made. I can't explain it. Maybe you can. I have no idea. But there you go. That's what's selling in the world of video games. That's what's not selling in the world of video games. Just an update from a real guy who sells stuff, giving you the real numbers. That's all we're trying to do. We're J-Bob the Video Game Slob. We're an honest channel. Check out Heritage, bid against me. Don't let me win any of this stuff. I've got what, $1,600 to spend. So we'll see what we can find in there. See if we can get some good deals. But let me know. I'm always interested. What do customers think? What do other business people think? How are your businesses doing? What are you buying if you're a customer? What are you collecting? But this is the stuff I'm collecting. This is the stuff I still love, even if the market's weak on it. So we'll talk to you later. YouTube, J Bob, the Video Game Slob. Over now.